Hi, Mr. Tiwary. Thank you for joining us on ET Now.
My pleasure.
It's a winter morning, and I think we are early here today. So let's start off with the demand part of it. We have a confluence of factors coming in: low inflation. You have GST cut which has come in, and over and above that, wages have started inching up. How are you seeing the demand as of now?
No, I think you pointed out to a very right. You used the right term. The vectors are getting aligned. I think it started somewhere with the the tax benefits which happened, the income tax benefits, followed by, I would say, clearly a rise in consumer confidence and sentiment, and then the last round of GST cuts which happened, which are very, very significant for our business. Most of our businesses, so if you look at the chocolates, if you look at coffee, they came down from 18 to the 5% bracket. While the transition was challenging to ensure that all the benefits came to the consumer, we are seeing very, very good growth post that. So if I look at the last week of September and October and November, the demand has been very, very good. And even the Nielsen market figures are now crawling up. And I think what's really also helping is, I wouldn't say inflation is down, but I think it's stable now. So for example, for our categories, especially for chocolates and coffee, the inflation was really, really high. It's now become modest. I would say it's stagnating, which gives us the opportunity to give back to consumers better pricing, better volumes.
What helped is also, cooling off of coffee prices as well, right?
Yeah, coffee is now, I would say it's stable, because we saw unprecedented inflation in coffee and cocoa, by the way. I mean, these two commodities, we've never ever experienced this kind of inflation in the last few decades. So that is something which was hurting. It's now stable. I would say it's tempering down, not as much as we would want, but it's getting better.
Are you looking at now double-digit volume growth coming in Q3?
Yeah, I would I wouldn't want to give forward-looking numbers.
But what is the kind of
if you take the last quarter, we had a double-digit value growth, and in 4 out of our 5 businesses, we saw very high single-digit or double-digit volume growth also. So if you ask me, based on trends, at least for the next few quarters, I believe for the entire sector, growth would be led by volumes.
And so value growth would be in double digits because pricing may not be so going up unless there is a raw material price increase significantly here.
Yeah. No, you're right. We are not expecting too much of pricing increases, at least for our businesses. And I could sort of say it for most of the foods businesses also. We won't see too much of price inflation, and therefore bulk of the growth, I would say 70% of the growth should come from volumes.
Nestle always has been a barometer of how urban consumption is there. Of course, you have a big rural footprint as well. How are you looking at urban consumption versus rural consumption?
Yeah, if you look at our food and beverages business, overall, now I'm talking about the sector. Actually, rural has been growing at around 1.6 times urban, and quite secularly for the last 2 years. Even last year, I mean, towards the end of 24, early 25, when growth had almost flattened out in urban, we still saw good growth happening in rural. And, I keep on telling people that urban is it's not a homogeneous cluster of people. Within urban, there are lots of micro segments which are performing very differently. I mean, we are standing in a store right now. This is Dwarka, NCR. I mean, if you look at these products, oats, millets, healthy food, they do really well in some of these parcels. I think also with the emergence of route to markets like quick commerce, we are further seeing a premiumization happening.
I wanted to pick your brains on that as well. You also bring in a confluence of, how do I say, 2 decades at HUL Unilever, where they are known for product innovations and others, and maybe another close to a decade in Amazon, which brings in e-commerce, the new distribution platform. How are you bringing 2 of those expertise into Nestle now?
Yeah, I think I've been, I keep on saying I've been lucky, blessed. I've got a chance to work in probably 3 of the world's best organizations, Unilever, Amazon, and now Nestle. And it's sheer luck. I think there is one thing which is common across all these 3 companies. It sounds very, very simple, but I think it's so important for all of us, for all the 11,000 people who work in Nestle in South Asia, to keep on reminding themselves every day when they get up, what is the purpose we want to serve? And of course, we want to serve good food, good life. But the commonality between a Hindustan Lever, an Amazon, and a Nestle is the focus on the consumer.
And consumer trend is changing.
It's changing, and we need to follow our consumers. So sometimes when people say, what do you think about general trade? What do you think about organized trade?
Or modern trade or e-commerce?
I keep on saying, as brand owners, our job is to go wherever our consumers go. Yeah? So I think that one thing which is common is the focus on the consumer. I think the one thing which I picked up in the last decade or so in a technology company was how to use technology and make it work for your businesses so that you can serve your consumers in a far more efficient manner. So I'll give you an idea. Let's look at these packs. Yeah? We sell food products, and we want them to be as fresh as possible. Now, when I sell, say, the veg atta noodles in Northeast, and we have a very large business in the Northeastern states. So let's go to Itanagar. I want the product to reach the hands of the consumer when she opens it up to be very fresh. Yeah. How do I achieve that? I can only achieve that the moment that she picks up the pack at that store in Itanagar, I get a signal into my system. That signal just does not stop at the sales, what we call the distributor management system. It flows back till the factory raw material procurement. And that's what the power of technology is, something which I've come to appreciate more because of my last stint. Nestle has done a lot of work on the technology pieces. We've digitized our factories. We now run pretty complex algorithms for forecasting, replenishment, and at the stores like this, everything works on the phone. I'm now trying to connect each of these systems. And that's something which I see in a small way, learned it in Amazon, and I can bring to play in a more impactful way at Nestle.
It brings in productivity gains as well, right?
Absolutely.
From margin point of view, lower inventory and other stuff.
Absolutely. So let's talk about inflation. When prices go up, our first intent always is to try and make sure the consumer does not have to pay more for it. Yeah, because inflation impacts her also. How do you do that? You do that by bringing in more efficiency. And I personally, my experience of the last 3 decades has been, if you want to respond to consumer needs quickly, if you want to get cost efficient, if you want your people to be as productive as, keep on increasing their productivity, at the heart of it is technology.
And what kind of gains that you can bring in? Because from your, the philosophy at Unilever HUL is about, you need to have that market share maintaining attitude in whichever category you are. And from Amazon is to, get to the last mile customer at the shortest point or in the shortest time frame. When you bring in those, what is the kind of productivity gains that can come into the margins of a business like an FMCG?
Yeah, I think one thing is to translate it into margins. The other is to make sure, you said it at the beginning, we started off, we've been in India for 113 years. And we started off, we were more of an urban company. Over the last decade, we've now become more of a, we started operating in Rurban, the smaller towns. We are now trying to enter into rural in a big way. Today, for me, the rural contribution would be anywhere between 16 to 17%. For most CPG companies, it can be close to 40% plus.
True. That's the reason I said you looked at more of an urban.
Yeah, but today, if you go and if you look at this entire aisle, and we're talking about noodles, the reality is the market leader is Maggi. Even today, noodles is Maggi. And the consumer in rural is also aspiring to have the same Maggi.
Yes.
Now, what does happen is in some parts of rural India, again, rural is not homogeneous, so a rural in a Punjab and a rural in a Bihar could be different. I think the price point packs become very important. And that's where you can use technology to make sure, despite inflation, you are able to serve the needs of the consumer better.
You took charge early this year.
Yeah.
I think February is when you came in.
Yes, that's right.
And and became the chairman in August,
That's right.
basically. What has been the key focus for you, or key area which you're looking at?
I think I've been trying to learn the business. It's important. While I worked in a CPG company, it was largely around personal care and home care. We had a little bit of food. Nestle is a food company. There is lots to learn. There is lots to learn about a company which started in the 1860s, or even in India, like I said, 113 years back. So I'm trying to absorb the culture, the people connect. And as I go through this process, in my own ways, wherever I see I can add something back to Nestlé India, I do that. So right now it's more of observation, and yeah, I would say you're going to hear this word so many times from me, the getting technology embedded into all our processes.
So is that the priority as of now, getting the tech stack ready for you in that sense?
I think it's not so much of a stack thing. Like I said, my priority is always how should I serve my consumers and my customers in the most efficient manner. At this point of time, I think technology is that enabler for us.
Are you also looking at some bit of, as consumers get diversified and they're moving toward digital, digital first launches as well?
Yeah, we do some of them. I mean, the way I think of digital is there are two aspects. One is how do you reach to the consumer in terms of, the fact that social media, some of the online digital channels are slowly becoming more and more prominent. At Nestlé India, we spend close to 50% of our money on digital, and 50%
on ad marketing.
Yeah, on the advertising. So one is how do you connect with your consumer, and the second is a route to market digital, which is the Amazon, the Blinkit, the Instamart. These are slightly different things, because on the first one, he or she might watch it on YouTube, but still shop in a store like this. And the reality is, time and again, there have been various forecasts about, I remember 20 years back when modern trade, organized trade came into the country, people said the kiranas would disappear. Nothing happened. The kiranas have their own place in this economy. So
now we say the same for quick commerce, impacting kiranas.
I do think kiranas have a role to play, the way they are organized. They bring a very, very strong native intelligence to their own business model. So I have observed this for very long, this entire changing retail landscape. So in my opinion, it will continue to thrive and prosper. But most of my marketing folks are getting trained, and especially on one aspect in communication, how to leverage the entire machine learning, heuristics, artificial intelligence to reach out to the consumers in almost a personalized manner at a very, very low cost.
I was about to ask you, how do you bring in machine learning and AI into consumer business, where every city, every town will have micro markets and micro demands coming in?
So just imagine 10 years back, if someone had to do forecasting for this store, you would take all the data on an Excel sheet, try to sort of do a trend analysis. If you wanted to do the same for Delhi, NCR, you would aggregate the data and do the trend analysis, because the human brain could not sort of capture and process so many data points. Today, I can use each of the data points I have of my entire coverage across and use it to predict demand for this store, for Dwarka, for this sector of Dwarka, and it's easy to do it because of the computing power. So there are two things happening. One is the computing power in terms of the number of variables, parameters which you can crunch is becoming more and more powerful. And second, machine learning, they have literally changed the way you do production planning, raw material planning, forecasting, and you can have very, very good forecasts by the day, by the month, and then long-term forecasts for capacity planning. We spoke about the fact that growths are now coming, they're being driven by volume growths. If you look at the last 2 years, last 2 financial years, we've invested close to 4,500 crores into capex, into new production line, new factories. We have a new factory coming up in Orissa right now. Now, the entire capacity planning can benefit really, really well if you have good algorithms working on forecasting for long-term demand planning.
And also,
that's the part.
also the product profile for a particular region as well.
Absolutely, because you don't want your Maggie to be traveling all over the country. I mean, the variable distribution cost is an important factor for CPG. So, how to leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning to do, whether it's at the back end, the forecasting and the raw material planning, the production planning, or in the front end to reach out to consumers or customers. So when my salesperson comes to a store like this, 10 years back you would have maybe a paper where they would call out SKUs, then it became a handheld, but they would still call out every SKU. Now he or she does not have to do that because the technology, it gets pushed saying this particular store is likely to sell these items. This is what would have gone out of stock based on the sales trend. So you get the accuracy. So instead of calling out, say, 400 SKUs, he or she just has to go and look at the 40, the algorithm. That's it. And that's why you get fresh stocks over here. Sometimes people say, why don't you, would you like to push your rural contribution higher? I keep on saying I would, but keeping in mind we are a food company. I still need fresh products. So if you look at it, a decade back, I had maybe around 10,000 distribution points. Now I have around 30,000. Yeah, I am covering close to 200,000 villages now. So around 80% of 2,000 plus population villages I cover directly. And that gives me the ability to have controlled distribution. And again, when I cover those towns, it's not like you can't have your people increasing linearly with coverage or business.
Yes.
I mean, economically it won't make sense.
Makes sense.
That's where technology comes to play.
So, we spoke about consumption in a bit, means a lot actually, but let's come into premium because that's what you are also focusing at because that's where the big margins come for Nestle as well. So, how do you look at premiumization as a trend and is it easy to push it through to rural areas as well?
Yeah, I think I have I'm very lucky that our current portfolio allows me we have huge growth opportunities on both extremes of the market. At the premium end also, which is largely in the large cities, and at the rural end of it. And both are equally important to me because I need to want more and more consumers to engage with Nestle, all the brands we have. Now coming to the premium part of the business, I think we are seeing some very, very good growths on our premium portfolio. So if you take coffee, I start selling a 2 rupee Nescafé sachet and I go up till a 15,000 rupee Nespresso machine. So if you see the range of it, there is Nescafé, there's Nescafé Gold, there is Roastery, then there is Nespresso. Now,
so that's an enterprise solution which you are providing when you go for a
Roastery. We call it Roastery is a normal can of coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, we import it from Japan. It's around 720 rupees and you should try it. It's among the best coffees you can have. And then you have the portion coffee, what we call Nespresso, which has its own role in the portfolio. Today, I do believe that most households in, say, a Gurgaon or the place where we are standing, they aspire to have an espresso machine. And at some point they would. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, think of the NCR. And when I look at, there are probably 30% of households in NCR which can consume like Europe does. Yeah? And that's why the premiumization journey is getting accelerated. One, the income is there, the aspiration is there, and now there is a route to market. Now what happens is real estate is expensive in this country. Yeah. Even in an awesome store like this, at max there will be 5,000 SKUs. Yeah. That's where online comes in because they can store thousands of SKUs and that's when strong brands actually get the right to very quickly expand. Yeah. So whether it's Nescafé, whether it's Kit Kat, you will see the premiumization happening very, very rapidly. And that part of the portfolio grows at close to 2 times the overall growth.
2 new categories where you are focusing on or you have entered into is the pet foods and the nutraceuticals. Yeah. What's the nutraceuticals, which you have a JV with Dr. Reddy's? How do you plan to expand those 2?
So the pet food business is super exciting. Yeah? Worldwide, it's a very, very large business, upwards of $5 billion. And the brands we have under Purina are some of the most loved brands. I mean, cats love Felix. Dogs love Pro Plan. You know, these are brands which have been created with a lot of research. Yeah, and therefore very, very excited. Right now, we are focusing online and on the top 10 cities. So that's a business very excited about. On the other end, the joint venture which you referred to, which is Nestlé Health Sciences with Dr. Reddy's, that's seeing very, very good traction. It's now been a little over a year since we formed the JV, and it's coming together very well because of the strength of Nestlé Health Sciences in research and global brands, and of course the strength of DRL, including the route to market. So early days, 1 year into the JV, but have we achieved what we wanted in the first year from the joint venture? I would say a very, very emphatic yes.
And scalable?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's a very, nutraceuticals is a very, very promising space. Vitamin, minerals, health supplements, very, very promising.
Mr. Tiwary, it was a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you for this. Thank you.